This conference will now be recorded.
It didn't say. Yeah, let's see. Social report.
It does. Oh, tap on it. Okay.
Test.
Agenda is on the screen. Officer Curtis, your agenda is on the screen.
He can't read that.
I can't read that from here.
You can use it like a.
I got 6 o'clock. I call the meeting to order.
You could be our
We'll start the
Vanna.
pledge allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have one amendment to the agenda, which will make C2, which will be Gary Harbaugh's discussion. So I just need approval to add C2, Gary Harbaugh, to the new business.
I'll make that motion.
Why is it C2?
Yeah.
Just to put him for, he doesn't have to list, he can get into the,
I'm a C student, so.
yeah. Just where he's not here, he doesn't have to stay around for the city business for, instead of making him wait around, so. That's why we did C2.
I will make a motion as amended.
Second.
Any further discussions, all in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Review the minutes from August 4th of 2022, a regular meeting minute.
I'll make a motion to approve the August 4th meeting minutes.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Bob Prigi.
Things were quite normal. There was just a couple of them to highlight. One was 77750, reimbursement to Shannon Clemenson for National Night Out. And the other one was 77748, which was that reimbursement for the sewer backup to Chris Allen. Otherwise, things were pretty normal. So I make a motion to approve the accounts payable for $47,121.65.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Public comments. Individuals may address the city council about any item of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit the remarks to 5 minutes. Any public comments? Yes, sir.
Kevin Amundsen. Just had a kind of a question / comment about the new parking ordinance there. When it says in the very middle, within 5 feet of any public or private driveway, there doesn't seem to be an exception to park in front of your own driveway in that case. Is that something that?
I want to hold that till the public hearing.
Yeah, we'll hold that comment to the public hearing on that portion.
Okay.
Then we can discuss it then. Since it's already on it, we'll discuss it then. So any other public comments? We'll close the public comments portion and we will open the public hearings on the proposed parking ordinance amendment. Kevin.
Yeah, so with it as stated, there's no exception for either permission to park in front of someone's driveway or your own. And I would just point out that the lack of an exemption has been abused in other cities, whether by neighbors who don't like somebody and they call the cops on their neighbors because they park in front of violating their own ordinance type thing. So I just don't want to see somebody abuse this in such a way. I don't know if that had been thought about as it was proposed.
I mean, I guess a question to the PD, when you get a complaint, do you run the plate to see if it is that homeowner before you ticket it?
Yeah, in fact, this was brought up at the previous council meeting. This is based on a call for service. We don't look for those type of violations. And it's for the homeowner that has someone, interfering in their driveway, not their own family or whatnot. Because we get a lot of complaints about people, hey, they're parked within a foot, I'm afraid I'm gonna hit their car when I back out.
Sure.
So that's the idea behind it, but we don't seek those out. We take the majority of our parking complaints are complaint-based. They're not, something that we go out and seek to see if there's parking violations. The ones that we probably will do are gonna be the typical fire hydrant, violation, a handicap violation, but usually that's even complaint-based because we don't necessarily know unless we run it, and we're not really doing that unless if there's a complaint. So, we didn't have anything about mailboxes being blocked by cars. We've had complaints of that in the past. So really, we're just making our best effort to utilize our ordinance better and kind of clarify what the violations are, so that we can actually enforce something. Because there's no law about, if you block someone's driveway completely, there is state law on that violation and the authority to impound it. Where this is just about, hey, someone's at the end of my driveway, it's not blocking, but it's a couple feet interfering with my driveway, and I want it removed. And generally, if we find the person, we say, you need to move your car. We're not out looking for that particular violation. The only one that I would say that we really enforce is our winter parking, because this Public Works has a job they gotta do, so we wanna make sure our streets are clear and we're not damaging people's cars or blocking them in. That's one of the ones that we particularly look for, but that's during the winter obviously.
Matt?
I was wondering, Dirk brought that up at last meeting or 2 meetings ago too, and could we just put in like a parenthetical on at least the driveway one, something like unless authorized by the owner of the driveway or something,
Property owner.
Yeah, something like that. That would be simple, or could that lead to more things going a different direction? Just to avoid the whole selective enforcement issue. Just a thought.
I think that would muddy it up, don't you think?
I think it's a horse piece.
Yeah.
Granted, this is the second person to bring it up, and I understand the concern. We're not that kind of agency where that's our goal.
Wait for next year until you retire.
All right, so say that again, Matt, what would that language look like potentially?
What did I say?
A parenthetical.
It's recorded.
Yeah.
We can go.
Yeah, unless authorized by the property owner, I guess. So if
Okay.
you're, whether it's you or you got a construction project or something and the truck has to park right in front of your driveway to unload a bunch of bricks or something, it's fine. Your neighbor isn't gonna say, oh, violation.
Really, it's about affecting the owner's driveway. It's not about affecting the neighbors of the owner's driveway. That's not the spirit of it. It's about the neighbor or the person that calls and says, someone's partially blocking my driveway. And then we can enforce it, where we haven't been able to in the past.
We're mostly having problems on West Avenue and Softball
Correct.
and out-of-towners
Correct.
parking in front of the driveways. That's the purpose of writing this ordinance, correct?
That's where we get the majority of the complaints, is they're so tightly packed in there. And there are people that, aren't from the community that are squeezing in and they're hanging out a foot or so into someone's driveway. People can still get out, but they're concerned about that. And that's kind of the spirit of it, is to be able to enforce that.
I think that's true all the way around the school. Mill's no different, or Sixth. There's some
West
Very-
is like there's more houses along West because it's on both
and
sides. so-
more access and no parking
Correct.
lot to the fields. So, yep, it was an issue.
if I can reopen up my suggestion, it would be, there are six aspects of when this can be enforced. It says 20 feet with an intersection, that's 1, 5 feet of a public driveway, that's 2, 10 feet of a fire hydrant, that's 3, 10 feet within a curbside, that's 4, temporary sign, that's 5, and I thought there was another one there. Okay, maybe it's 5. Split it into 2 sentences, and it says the first one is no vehicle shall be parked within 20 feet, and then, or that's all the ones that cannot be changed. If you're close to the corner, if you're in front of the fire hydrant, then, or where temporary signs are prohibiting, those are non-negotiable. You're going to get, if it's called upon, they will get a ticket. Then you make a new sentence that says, no vehicle shall be parked, and then that's within 10 feet of any curbside mailbox or private driveway unless approved by the property owner. So now it becomes 2 sentences, nothing has to be parenthetical, and there's no question, because if you put it in there parenthetically, now someone could say, well, does that just apply to the private driveway? What about the curbside mailbox? You know, would you have to have 2 parenthetical statements? That's just a thought. It doesn't.
As long as it's clear that it's only applying to whatever we want it to apply to.
Correct.
That seems to make it more clear.
What's that?
I think you're correct. I think that makes it more clear.
So you just split it into 2 sentences, and one is non-negotiable if enforced, and the other one is with permission of the property owner.
West Avenue between the driveways and the mailboxes, they're not gonna be able to park anywhere, or the intersections.
We'll make it difficult.
It was like, yeah, 3 spots between 5 houses.
But again, we generally just don't go down West Avenue finding those violations. We base them on people's complaints.
Right. So bring it back next meeting? That will.
Well, this is the public hearing. I think we can make wording changes. Do I have to post that again, Matt? I think we
Kevin,
could
would
make,
that satisfy your thoughts?
That would satisfy. Because it addresses those 2 things separately like that.
so I think when we get to the voting part of it, we can, you
Vote on the verbiage.
Make the motion to change the verbiage to what he said, and then vote on that. Because the whole spirit of it's still here. I mean, you know, and
Especially if it's becoming less restricted by adding that exception. If it was going the other way and we were making it more restricted, then we probably want to give the public additional notice.
Okay. Good.
But I was just thinking, you always have to think of different scenarios by adding this exception language that create more of an unanticipated issue, but I don't, nothing's coming to mind right now. The owner says, I don't care. Park in front of my driveway, then I guess the police won't issue a citation.
Perfect. So that's what we'll do is when we get to 8D, we'll just adjust the verbiage and then vote on that. I will close the public hearing portion. We'll jump to 7A, unfinished business, budget information. Brian.
yes, budget, the levy percentage went up just a hair. We added a couple of things since the last shot at the preliminary budget. The ambulance dollars were put in there, as well as a request to add some dollars to the EDA budget for programming. We had a presentation from a CETA representative who works in a community nearby, and she talked about a line item in their EDA budget that is called programming, and it allows the EDA to come up with a program to get some dollars out to local businesses each year. Program changes each year, or wouldn't have to. She had mentioned they did a rental assistance for new businesses in which they would provide rental assistance for the first few months to get them going. That was one of the programs. There was a exterior facade program, which I think we've done before with those Rochester tax dollars possibly. But things like that. So I asked Kim to just put some dollars in there, right around $10,000 in there for that, just to see, get the council thoughts on it, get it in here for now. Again, the preliminary levy can go down, it can't go up. So we kind of want to do our brainstorming. We've got the work session coming up on September 7th, so we can get more in depth on some of those things. But that's what changed that levy to a little over 6%.
Perfect.
Just information for now.
Thanks, Brian. New business, 8A, Covered Bridge Festival update. Molly.
Me. I'm Molly Lenhart, so I'm just a part of the Covered Bridge Festival Committee this year. So Holly's been here every single other time, so tell me if I'm repeating myself, please. But we're coming along just fine. I don't know how much update you guys want. I think the biggest thing is probably that the school is going to do an open house that Saturday of the festival, so that would be the 17th. They're going to do some food before and an open house for the community at noon, I believe the time was, and then, or no, before the football game. They're going to start in the morning, the football game is at noon. So they're going to have open house, maybe some food, tours, and then the football game is at 12 o'clock. So that's being added to it. And then I sent over that fireworks application. Do you want me to pause? Do you want any other updates before we go on to the next? We can approve them as we go.
Yeah, this is just informational
Yeah.
for now, this first
And the
one.
fireworks will be the next one that we'll approve on.
I just have one more thing about the parade then, since that's not on there. I got a quote from the same company that was used last year for barricades for the parade and for detour signs. So I called them again. They said in the past the city has went and picked them up and set them up for us. I don't know if that's a possibility this year again. Did you see that look?
Turn your mic on if you're going to talk. And that's probably true when the city was running the festival. The question is, for the council, how much public works involvement truck-wise, and do we want?
At the end of the day, it's gonna, benefit our
It is.
roads and streets and people find
Safety.
it easier around town, so I would think there's one thing that's.
Maybe pick up and
Tribute.
and return, and then maybe the festival and place them.
They want
That was the point, to have them place them so that they're not,
Like
they're in
back
the,
truck,
they
which
know
is
they're.
like,
in
But
the-
they're probably not
put 'em
gonna-
out?
But they're probably not gonna pick them up on Saturday. They'll probably have to pick them up on Friday and return them on Monday.
What do we do during block parties? Same thing.
No, the one down on Main Street, they have their own codes, so they block the road themselves. We just authorize from a council level the blocking of the road.
So is that something you want to have a conversation about before I just like offer up your services and the department? Okay, we'll table that one. Okay, come back to you. Sounds good. And then I can talk about fireworks. I sent in that application, so we're set with a company now and have the application into you guys to get the fireworks signed off and approved. So does that need to be a motion? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yep.
Typically, the council would approve that same location where they always set them off.
Yep, we're mirroring what you had set up last year. Kind of took a look at it because last year there was an issue with the grass and it being too tall. They were worried about that. So Brad Nord went and looked at it and he said it's all looking good. So that was the only issue that was present last year. So same location, same time.
8 PM, I saw.
Yep,
on that. So just before the band starts.
correct. Yep, the band will start when fireworks conclude. I know. I think it's gonna, I looked ahead, I'm like, when's the sunset on September 17th? And yeah, it's close to that. It might not be completely dark, we might not start till 8:10, but yeah, I know.
Any more updates?
Nope, just need to get that approved, I guess, and then I think we're set to go unless I need to fill out more paperwork for the city.
Perfect. Then we'll jump to 8B, the Covered Bridge Festival fireworks application.
Yep.
Brian.
Yep, that's just what she said, the application to do the fireworks. Typically, the council has approved these officially in the past, so we brought it back again this year.
Fireworks application permit for the Covered Bridge Fest.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Molly. Covered Bridge Festival temporary liquor license. Miranda.
Yeah, so we received a request from the festival committee, and we received their application for a temporary liquor license for the weekend of the festival. We received all insurance from the Lions Club and from the breweries that would be involved. So staff would recommend approval.
I'll make that motion.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Miranda. 8C2, Gary Harbaugh.
Yes, I was here last night for the EDA meeting to propose a mural placement in the community garden. Actually, it's not really technically in the community garden, it's on the retaining wall just behind the community garden. But pending what Brian found out today, do you have anything?
Yep, yeah, I can jump in right here. So the request was at the EDA last night, and we suggested that he bring that to the council tonight. I spoke with Lucas Youngston with the DNR this afternoon. He said the DNR would have no issues with that. He just cautioned us to make sure it's tasteful. So we probably want to see a rendering first, or what you're planning on. Not that you would do anything distasteful, but the DNR kind of thinks analytically like that, you know, what could come up. And then he said maybe have somewhat of a discussion or a plan on who is going to maintain it as it deteriorates, as the paint deteriorates over the years. Because he said he'll probably get a complaint from somebody if it looks bad at some point down the road. So.
Sure. So just to follow up with what I talked about last night, this mural was an idea that I had in commemoration of Tat Harridge, who died last year in July. The Lions Club reached out to me and said that they wanted to donate a bench in memory of Tat. I drew a picture I didn't give you guys. Obviously, it's really small on this paper, but this is the garden. This is 4th Street. And then the post office is here. This is Bitter Creek that runs behind. There's a maple tree that sits here. Currently, there's a bench that's out front of the garden, but we wanted to place the second bench towards the rear of the garden, facing Bitter Creek, just because of what Tat and I had talked about with pulling water out of there. Eventually, it's a project that I have in the plans, but to put a bench here commemorating Tat, and the mural placement would be about 20 feet along this retaining wall, so looking over the creek bed and then seeing a mural. I've talked to a muralist out of Minneapolis. He's told me it's gonna be about $2 grand to paint the mural, and then he needs a place to stay and then paint for paint, which I will hopefully allocate the funds for via fundraiser. But the idea for the mural was just to have a depiction of Tat playing music, and then the notes transform into agricultural aspects, so farming, cows, that kind of stuff. So, I mean, I can get him to give me kind of a mock-up before if you guys want to have approval of it. But yeah, that's what I'm seeking approval for, is just to say, yes, you can put it in there. So, anybody have any questions?
And it'll be seen mostly by whoever is in the garden and sitting on the bench. You're not going to see it much from the road either way. So,
yeah, hopefully it'll be a draw to bring people into the garden.
Yeah.
So,
whose wall is that? Is that the owners own that wall up to a certain point out of the West Avenue?
well, I talked to someone who owned a house along there, and they said they didn't have anything to do with when they redid those walls.
Correct. And I looked into that back then, but if you look at the GIS of it, I think the owners own the retaining walls. Actually, the city at that time was doing something for the flood, part of the flood mitigations back there with the walls, and I think I don't know. I saw some information on it. Maybe I'll have to look into that a little more too, but otherwise I think it would go to the property owners.
Yeah, because the Lucas thought that we would need to do the maintenance on it. over the years. The city would, but
On the wall?
Actually, yeah, because I actually found something. I'll find that information again.
So what can we do then?
Can we make approval at least to give the okay for Gary to start working on fundraising? But we need to approve the contents of
Can we say pending the content or the actual
mural
mural,
and then the property
and then-
wall issue that Mike brought up?
making sure we're doing it, that we can do it? I don't know how to word that, but.
Do you want me to go talk to the property owner then, or?
Let me find some information.
is it the post office?
No, it would be the people next to the post office.
Okay, the small house, yeah.
Yeah, which I've met him, he's a nice guy, so I don't think there's any issue, but.
Yeah, but I talked to the previous owner and he said he didn't have anything to do with the wall being rehabbed.
I mean, we'll have to look at it, because it's
Yeah.
Unless
facing
he
his house as opposed
goes
to.
and looks,
Yeah,
yeah.
get it out.
I mean, you could approve it pending,
Homeowners.
Design
okay,
and homeowner
design approval?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make that motion.
because I think you kind of heard the design already, so pretty comfortable with that.
And then probably next meeting, we should put on there, or when, when we're, or sometime when we're getting closer, who's gonna maintain
Oh, yeah, that discussion too.
that discussion, but we could do that I mean,
Yeah,
we
I-
have many years before that happens, but let's do it before we forget.
Yeah, I would imagine that would be future fundraising too.
From what Sean told me, the mural is, he said with the location of it and the fact that it's in a shaded area, it won't take nearly the maintenance of something that's south facing. So, I mean, depending a giant flood that washes it out or anything like that, it should last, not indefinitely, but a significant amount of time.
Yeah, that's what Lucas said from the DNR too. He said it's facing the right direction. It's not going to deteriorate
Yeah.
that way, so.
Question for Mike, do you remember when those walls were reinforced? I think the city paid for that, didn't it? Yeah.
It was something that.
There was some easements grant possibly to allow the work to be done.
The one thing that I found is, if I remember right, it was a one-time deal. They were gonna take care of it, get the original fixed, and after that, it was kind of back to the homeowners and their responsibility. That was something in writing I'd found, so I'll just dig into that again and find that information.
There's already a few murals under the bridge from what I hear.
Probably not.
I
so
haven't been down
tasteful.
there, but yeah, no, probably not.
So we have a second. Yeah.
I made a motion pending approval of the actual depiction and then approval from the homeowner.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Gary.
Cool, so I'll come back next council meeting, hopefully with a depiction idea.
Yeah.
And then you guys will get back to me on homeowners, or do you want me to go talk to homeowners?
Probably both. I mean, I think Mike will look up some work, and then if you know the homeowners,
Do you want to just get in touch with me, Mike, then? I'm gonna find out, and I can touch base with them.
Yep, that'll work. Thanks, Gary.
He's probably gonna be shocked. What? I have to take.
For sale.
Yeah.
Tell them to buy some paint for the future. No, it's-
Perfect. Thanks, Gary. 8D, vote on parking ordinance amendment. So we need a little bit of,
Yep, we'll split that into two sentences. Like Dirk had mentioned, I think that makes sense. It's not going to be more restrictive, which is what Matt said, that makes sense. The substance is still there, but it's much clearer that way. So first sentence would include the intersections, hydrants, and probably the temporary parking signs, because those are obvious that those are not allowed at any time.
Right.
And then the second sentence would read, would include the mailboxes and the driveways, which is a little bit more subjective and complaint-based.
Without the express permission, or without permission of the property owner, would you want to add the word leasee if it's somebody, if it's a rental, or? I don't want to get too deep in the weeds on here because we're probably already too deep anyway, but I just like the idea of having a protection clause for the owner, is what this really is.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, being that we've been brought up a couple of different times, so I don't know if we want to go lessee in there or not, or
I would just leave it as property owner.
property occupant.
What's that?
I think I would just leave it to property owner.
Okay,
One word.
yeah, let's leave it property owner then.
Yeah, deal.
That's easier.
I guess if you want to get technical, the tenant or an agent, so anybody can act as an agent on behalf of the property owner, but I suppose, yeah, that's probably all right to just leave it at property owner.
Okay.
I'll make a motion then to approve the parking ordinance amendment as amended. I had to say that, was funny.
I'll second it.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. 8E, approved election notification candidate list of the open council positions. I guess Brian just needs to get something to the county saying that we had 4 people turn their applications for council. Do we need to state their names?
Can.
Dirk Cedergren, Lisa Johnson, Joan Buchert, and Kevin Udmundson. And I guess we just need a motion to approve them for applicant.
Oh, second.
Any further discussions? All in favor? Opposed? Passes 5-0, actually got to go 4-0-1.
Yeah, thank you.
Good call. As soon as somebody, okay, 4-0-1. 8F, the Isaac Walton Building demo. Mike?
We got 2 quotes for the demolition of the old Isaac Walton, just east of the brush site there. One was from Dustin Beats for $6,200, and the other one was from Schumacher's for $5,300. And we're at this point leaving the slab of cement that it sits on. We've had, that came off from a forfeiture, and it's old and falling down, and it gets broke into a lot. So we're just ready to get rid of it, and those funds will come from the trail budget.
Yep.
Yes, please.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Let's just add in there, I know maybe you mentioned that, but we've constantly had problems with break-ins out there and trying to keep it locked up, and they break everything, and so it's be good to get rid of it. Good. Sorry. Missed it.
Thanks, Brett.
Good job.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Mike. Reports, Brian.
Oh, settle in, I have a whole page.
I said it's gonna take longer than that.
Jefferson, we run into some more delays in getting materials. We're not quite sure when we can get concrete piping now. So at this point, we're looking at holding off until spring. When we have everything and doing the project at that time, I'm gonna bring a amendment to the contract to the council for consideration. It's your decision, at the next council meeting. But the discussion, we have weekly construction meetings, and the discussion with Scott Schumacher and our engineers and us is that at this point, not being sure, we don't want to open anything up and not being able to get everything done in any one section. So, however, we've talked about maybe grubbing out the tree stumps in some areas. Excel is still going to move the light poles. So there will be some work going on, but that'll all be a decision that you can make at the next council meeting when we present the amendment. There's been a lot of moratoriums in the state on the sale of food and beverages containing legalized THC. The reason for the moratoriums, is the lack of language in both zoning ordinance and the alcohol tobacco enforcement ordinance. The THC stuff is not included in there, so lots of communities are handling that by passing a moratorium, studying the issue, getting the zoning and the alcohol tobacco ordinances straightened out. Haven't done that yet. I've been researching that, trying to come up with wording. I'll work with Matt once we have it.
According to my lobbyists for the MLBA, they're advising people not to carry it until they get an answer from the Food and Drug Administration.
Food and Drug Administration plus.
So in my off-sale license now, it is prohibited because it is not a food. And it's not in there, so we can't carry it.
Correct, yes.
Currently, next session, I think they're gonna clarify a lot of stuff. I don't know if you need to do that much work. I would just hold off because
Not doing that.
after next session, if it's not clarified, then we probably have to do something. But
You know,
as of right now, it's not technically legal for us to sell it in the
Yeah, right.
They can have it, I could do it in the bar. I can have it in the bar.
We do have one place in town selling it now.
It's illegal, so.
It's legal, yes, yep. We just don't have
You
anything.
can sell it in the bar because that license doesn't include that. So if we did want to say something that we didn't want it in the bars, because it's
But what
just
if we do want it in the bars?
Right, I
Come
mean, I
on,
don't know.
just ask it.
Maybe.
Maybe one of those.
And it doesn't matter to me, but
Even if they are.
And that's not to say that we don't want it, it's just to say that we have to get the ordinance
But it
straightened
can't-
out because are we gonna do and this is discussion of the community, are we gonna regulate it like tobacco where we go in every so often and make sure they're checking IDs and that type of stuff? So that's kind of language that looking
Right,
at.
and that's why the MLBA is pushing for us to be able to sell it in the liquor industry, because we're already responsibly selling to 21 and over.
Sure.
So I don't know how that will go with the police and what that would look like, but so say you have a THC can of something, you can't mix that with alcohol in the bar. That is part of that thing. So it would only be someone coming to get that and not a mix of it. But technically right now, I could buy it and sell it in the bar. Not off sale, but in the bar.
Yeah, and
So I
that's
don't know
what-
if we want to word it
But-
some way.
And that's what these moratoriums have been doing, just kind of holding off on that because there's not really local regulation in place. And it gives the regulation to local municipalities. So, and zoning gets to be a problem because it doesn't say anywhere in there that where they can or cannot sell this. Can they do it next door to the school? Can they?
It does, that.
That type of
yeah,
zoning,
yeah,
right? Yeah, so that's where the difficulties, and I've done a lot of reading on it, but I haven't actually put together any verbiage on it. So I'd like to put something together, at least consider it, and then where it goes.
I just didn't want you to do a ton of work when it's really, I'm just holding off on it because I'm like, I'll just wait because I know you're watching me. I know.
Yeah, we're watching.
But I just don't want to do something illegal and not
For sure.
know it,
Yep, and I won't reinvent the wheel. I'll take something that somebody has done.
Moratorium is like 2 sentences.
Well, right, but do we want to do a moratorium or do we want to, I don't know, you know what I mean?
Wait till the state comes out to.
They're going to address it next session is all that I've heard.
But then we're allowing it everywhere at this point.
Oh,
Because
right.
it's not regulated.
Part of the problem is that there's, it's up to the communities to have ordinances based on how you enforce it, and there is nothing out there that guides anybody.
Mhm.
And so if you have an entity that's selling it to a minor, there's no ordinance on it.
Well, and
So there's no fine attached to it. So, the county attorney is tasked with, prosecuting offenses as long as you have an offense that's spelled out as to what the violation is.
Mhm.
So that's where, they really dropped the ball when they pushed it through because they didn't provide enough guidance to anybody.
It's really vague, yeah.
Yeah.
And nobody even knew what it was, under. They had to figure that out. The first week that, I don't even know what it's under. What is it
It's the old
under?
pass it, we'll read it later.
So, right. So anyway, That's, yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to bring that up
Yeah.
and we can discuss it more. I'll bring it to the next meeting and we can hash it out some more there to see what we're like. We still haven't caught that chicken either.
Yeah, he was over there in the armory
Was he?
the other morning.
He's wily. I think he should be our town mascot.
Yes,
though.
absolutely.
Next thing, negotiations. We're going to start negotiating with the unions here shortly, anticipating having a meeting with both of them before our work session, just to get some idea of what they're going to be looking for. Main Street study, we had this discussion today in reference to the crosswalks. We've been talking about, Tina has mentioned, speed, mentioned maybe a middle median crossing possibly. An island. So there's been a lot of discussion. As I understand it, there really hasn't been a big study done. It's been talked about, but so we had that conversation with our city engineer today, and they've done many studies. There's one going on in St. Charles right now for the same type of reasons. And MnDOT, every time Mike has called them numerous times, and they always ask, well, have you had a study done? So we're thinking maybe we should see what a study is going to cost us and what it's going to do for us, and that'll give us some expert recommendations on what we should do or what's been proven and done before. So just starting to look into that. I'll bring back more information once we get some more dollar amounts and the whats and the whys to do it or not to do it. Primary election went really well. Big thank you to the election judges, especially the head judges who have a lot of experience and they can handle anything that comes up very effectively. And also Miranda she did the heavy lifting, setting everything up and keeping things running during the day, keeping them fed and happy all day long. It was, and we get to do it again in November. So Miranda's really looking forward to that one. Yeah.
It's a long day.
Oh, boy. It was a 17-hour day for me because I go with the election judges down to Red Wing to bring all the ballots down. And you stand in line there for a while and then do all your check-in stuff. And so it was good. It went really well, really, really well.
Good.
That's it. I'm done already.
What?
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad.
Thanks, Brian. Chief?
I have one update from Motorola. It's the first time I've heard from them since ordering the body cams, and they're in production. So,
That's been a long time.
but I think that part might go quicker than I'm anticipating. But they basically communicate that they're going to be in more communication with us as this progresses and to help us get prepared for rolling that out. Because we still have to set up squad video systems with an installer, and that installer's already given us a good quote. It's pretty reasonable. And they'll do it here on site. Obviously Motorola has to come and set up the network so that it uploads properly. And then I have a sample, very long policy on it that I'm hoping next year we'll be able to clean up. But I have that, which we'll have to present, and we'll have to have some sort of public hearing on it before we actually deploy the use of it. So I anticipate that coming in the near future, hopefully this year.
Can I have a live feed so I can watch what Scott does all day long? It would be awesome.
Live PDs of Rosa.
We could have it on the channel, on the night channel. It could be awesome. Everyone would be sleeping. No.
Thanks, Chief. Matt? Miranda?
Nothing tonight, Mayor, thank you.
Mike Olson?
I just want to mention, we had another meeting with Goodhue County GIS group, and that's moving along really well. That's going to be a very useful tool for us, and looking forward to that. We also got our GSI equipment in, so they'll do some training with us on that, and then we'll be able to start using that. So
That's so exciting.
it is. It's
That's
going to be very
so
nice.
nice. Great.
That's
Thanks,
all I
Mike.
have.
Thanks, Mike. I have nothing. There.
No, okay.
Stephen?
Nothing. No, sir.
Be adjourned.